Who needs a binder? There you go. Push your binder.
It's a job. Goodness. Sitting all day long.
Recording in progress.
Okay. We ready? All right, the time is now 7:13 and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were Pete Foster, Michael Kopp, Attorney Goldman, staff members Katie Sickles, Nicole Killian, and Jeremy Schultz, and the entire Board of Trustees. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Also, no decisions were made during executive session. Moving on to our next agenda item. Does the board have any conflicts of interest to announce at this time? Seeing none, we'll now open it up for general public input, limited to 3 minutes per speaker. All right. So we'll move on to agenda items. Do we have any public input for items 4A, B, C, or D on the agenda? If none, we will hit up 4A concerning water case number 15CW3017. And if you would just state your name for the record.
Sorry, this doesn't want to stay up. Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Michael Kopp, and I am a water attorney for the town. And I would recommend that the board approve item 4A, the further stipulation between applicant and opposer in water case number 15CW3017.
Does the board have any questions at this time or need further clarification? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve water case number 15CW3017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, 4B, water case number 17CW3036.
Yes, I would recommend that the board approve in water case number 17 CW 3036, the stipulation between applicant and opposer town of Bayfield.
Is there any discussion or clarification needed from the board? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve water case number 17CW 3036, stipulation between applicants and opposers, town of Bayfield.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. And water case number 07CW89.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would recommend that the board approve in water case number 07CW89, the stipulation between applicants and opposer town of Bayfield.
All right, does the board have any questions?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve water case 07CW 89, stipulation between applicants and opposer, town of Bayfield.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on. We have a presentation regarding energy performance contracting.
Yes, and I'm going to just give a brief overview of where we're at, and then we have joining us tonight Ashley Brassovan. I hope I said that right, Ashley. She's with McKinstry, and she's going to just give a brief presentation. But just to recap where we're at with this, we came to the board on September 5th with a proposal for energy performance contracting for the town of Bayfield. And as part of that discussion we had with the board asked us to look at, so part of the process would be an audit, and that'd be the beginning part of the process. And the board asked us to look at what it would cost us to do the audit if we did not move forward with the energy performance contracting. So the way this works is if you do the audit and then you move forward with the energy performance contracting, the cost of the audit gets rolled into the energy performance contract. If we decide not to move forward with that and we just do the audit of our buildings and our facilities, then we do have to pay for that audit after the fact. And so staff did put together some brief numbers, which again Ashley can go through, but it's going to cost approximately $20,000 for the audit of our buildings and facilities. If we decide to do the audit and then after the results of the audit we decide not to move forward with the energy performance contract. So I just wanted to give you that real brief update. And then if the board still wants to proceed with the energy performance contracting process, we will come back on November 7th with a resolution for the board to approve. And then the next step would be doing an MOU with the Colorado Energy Office, and then going towards the RFP process, and we can do a sole source for our energy service company, and that's what Ashley's with. She's with an energy service company that's doing work in the area with the Bayfield School District as well as the City of Durango, so they're already coming down here and doing these types of projects in our region. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ashley, and you want to, there you go.
Well,
Yep.
thanks, Nicole. Can you all see the screen okay?
Yes.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm Ashley Rossman. I'm with McKinstry, as Nicole said, which is a pre-qualified energy service company in the state of Colorado. I know you all have heard a lot about energy performance contracting at the last meeting, so I'm going to try to keep this high level and just focus on next steps and just a quick overview of the state's program. So this is a financing and contracting tool that allows public agencies to use guaranteed savings from efficiency improvements to fund capital upgrades. The program has been around in Colorado for about 25 years, and the legislation nationwide has been in place about 30 years. So it's a well-established program and framework both in the state and at the national level. We've seen about $500 million of projects go through in Colorado alone, with about $44 million in cost savings across those projects through the life of the program here. Like Nicole mentioned, this is really a 5-step process at a high level. So the first step would really be looking at a memorandum of understanding with the Colorado Energy Office. This is non-binding. It really just through the Energy Performance Contracting Program. The second step is just the ESCO selection process. So like Nicole said, we're pre-qualified. We went through a competitive RFP process this year to get on the state list or maintain that qualification on the state list. And then you would look at signing an investment grade audit contract. So the good thing about the Colorado Energy Office program is all documents have been vetted by the state attorney's office. They've been around for a couple decades. So they have all of these templates and documents available if the town would like to use that. After the investment grade audit has been signed, we'll go through and we'll do a collaborative process where we go through and we kind of have weekly check-ins with the town staff. We'll have 30, 60, 90 progress meetings to make sure that we're really hitting the mark and providing the highest value to the town. We'll also look at any funding and available grants during this time and come forward with that EPC project proposal for implementation. So once that's been signed and implemented, the state of Colorado mandates 3 years of measurement and verification for system performance and energy savings. And all of the remaining savings above what has been guaranteed and past any financing or loan that you all would take go back to the town. The ESCO does not take those. So here is the projected audit costs and facilities. So the audit costs are predetermined in the state of Colorado based on distance from Denver and total square footage. So you can see all of your buildings on the left. It's about 30 cents a square foot. And then the parks and open space is a lump sum. So the total audit cost, if you didn't move forward with the project, would be about $20,443. That's rolled into the final project if the town opts to move forward with implementation in the final EPC contract proposal. There are a lot of different funding opportunities, so this is a big part of the energy performance contracting process too. So we'll really look at 5 categories throughout the project. We'll look at rebates from the local utility, grants, so both the federal level, the Inflation Reduction Act is a big one in a lot of these projects, and then the state level, a lot of DOLA funds a lot of energy performance contracts. We got $1 million grant for Durango for an energy performance contract, so they're highly aware of these projects and do allocate a lot of funding each cycle for EPCs. We'll also look at savings and what we can guarantee. I know you will have some higher utility costs at the water and wastewater plant, so that might be a focus along with the buildings. And then we'll look at any capital internal funding that you might want to bring to the table that was already pre-budgeted in the site plan. And then finally, we can help you look at the third-party financing options. The most common here is a tax-exempt lease purchase, but we've also seen these be funded through certificates of participation and bonds. So it's really a combination, a full package of all of these. There's some key benefits of energy performance contracting. So it's strongly supported in the state of Colorado. There have been about 210 projects completed statewide that have gone through this framework and program. The Colorado Energy Office is a free third-party resource for you all. All you have to do is sign that MOU and you get assigned a technical resource. They are turnkey implementation, so the ESCO or Energy Service Company really takes care of everything from the design to the implementation to commissioning and ongoing measurement and verification, making it really easy for your staff. There's no upfront capital required. Like I said on the last slide, we'll kind of look at all the different funding mechanisms to try to put a package together that works best for the town. The ESCOs do manage both implementation and development, so you have a single point of contact throughout. You do have those guaranteed system savings and performance that will be measured and verified for a minimum of 3 years. And then there's a solid framework and all documents that are available and approved by the Energy Office, including the implementation contract, which you're more than welcome to modify, but they do provide that on your behalf if you'd like to use them. So just quickly about my history. So we've been in business 63 years with nearly 2 decades of experience on these types of projects in Colorado. We have about 120 energy professionals located in Colorado and about 2,000 nationwide. We do everything in-house out of our Colorado office. We do design, engineering, construction, solar, and measurement and verification out of our Golden, Colorado office. We have experience with about 35 local governments in Colorado on energy performance contracts. And some of those highlights, like Nicole said, we're working with City of Durango. We're under construction for that project right now. So We have staff full-time in Durango at the moment through the end of construction on that project. We did a project with Workino County too. We're able to get them a DOLA grant and also a 0% interest loan through USDA. And then Town of Basalt was another rural and remote mountain community where we did an audit on 5 buildings and did a $1.5 million energy performance contract that's under construction right now. So just to give you a little bit of background on some of our current projects we're working on. And that's all I have. So I'm happy to stay on and answer questions or hand it back to Nicole.
Yeah, I have a question. Some of those funding opportunities that were there, like the grants and that sort of thing, is that something that your organization would, write the grant and put in the application for those grants, or is that on our town that has to do that?
So we can help provide a lot of the technical information and write some of the grants. I think you're probably aware in DOLA, I think the agency actually has to be the one to formally submit the grant and present on it, but we'll do as much work in the background to make that process as easy as possible with you. We'll coordinate grant meetings with the local rep, who I think is still Patrick. We can help provide all the content, and then you all would just need to submit and do the 7-minute presentation for that. And same with the Inflation Reduction Act. We could help secure that grant. We have partners that are experts on the tax credits that are available through that, so we can work with them and with you to make sure that you get those credits secured if you're looking at solar and storage.
And if we had to go the route of third-party financing, are those companies that you know and recommend that you have, like in your back pocket, or is that something we have to go search out ourselves?
We do. So actually, this is something else that the Colorado Energy Office has a standard RFP if you want to use that. We also, like Bank of America was the one that financed Durango. We have probably 3 to 5 partners that we've worked with consistently on lease purchase financing in the state of Colorado. So we definitely could give you like 3 contacts. You could reach out to them, see who gives you the best loan terms and interest rates, and just decide from there as well. We've had that happen before on projects.
And then my last question is that if we did this and we decide not to go through with it, that 20,000, do we have that budgeted? And if not, do we have the funds to budget?
So it would probably be in the capital improvement fund because that's what
Right.
so that's where we do have reserves for that.
Thank you.
And kind of to piggyback off that, I absolutely think this is, the responsible thing to do. I did this at my business and I found a ton of savings. How much are we going to be asking of our staff during this audit? We're understaffed in every department right now, and I don't want to overload any departments additionally, but I'm just kind of curious how it works.
I guess the question would be like, how many staff hours would doing something like this require?
I know Nicole has actually been through the process before. We worked with her when she was at Durango. So I think the goal is really to take the burden off of your staff and look at all the facility improvement projects that you'll need to do that are in your CIP for the next couple of years and bundle those with efficiency projects. And then we have construction managers on staff. And so instead of individually bidding out projects, your staff can really focus on other larger projects that they want to do, and we can take on some of the burden from your facilities team and from Nicole's team to really wrap this all under one umbrella. So the goal is to make it easier on your staff. I know Nicole can speak to it a little bit. She's been through part of the process during Go.
Yeah, there's definitely staff input in it because, they come into town, they go through the buildings, we have to be a part of that, we're constantly communicating, but again, they kind of act as that extension of staff on this type of process, so that we are not doing all of, they're the expertise, they've got the engineers, they've got the design, and so that keeps us from having to learn all that and figure all that out as part of it.
What are those specific projects, the 3 specific projects that you pointed out, what are they? Like you're doing a $2 million project in Durango, and what is it?
Yeah, I can go back to that slide. So Durango, we have 5 solar sites there, and then we have domestic water not too big, maybe not as small as you all, but probably 200,000 square feet. A lot of these are really tiny facilities, and so a lot of that was focused on deferred maintenance, so HVAC replacements and upgrades. They also did LED lighting. They had 4 solar arrays, and some water efficiency too, and then controls work. So those are pretty standard projects within this, like some combination of renewables that's a lower payback. If you all are looking into adding EV charging installations, we've done that quite a bit. And then lighting, HVAC or deferred maintenance work, and then water efficiency is pretty common too. Town of Basalt was actually solar only on those 5 buildings. That was really what they were focused on. We looked at a battery system too at the high school to make it into more of a resiliency shelter for natural disasters. It didn't quite pencil at this point, so I think we're waiting for technology to get a little bit better for what they wanted for that building.
And again, this program's a way for us to get capital projects now that are efficient projects for our buildings. And then we pay it back through the guaranteed savings. So say, for instance, we pay $10,000 a month in utilities, and the guaranteed savings will be $2,000 a month. Well, so we'll continue to pay $10,000 a month until everything's paid off. But that extra $2,000 that we're saving is paying off our debt on these capital projects. And so it's not going to cost us more up front to do it, but it's a long-term payback to get these efficient projects. And once they're paid back, then we get to reap the savings and be more efficient, whether it's, more insulation in our buildings or new HVACs or new roofs that can handle solar and things like that, we get to kind of talk with McKinstry through the process and figure out what's our wish list, what are the things that really make sense for our community. And it's not going to be everything, but there's going to be some things that might be big ticket items that we can really do through this program and make the future of our buildings more efficient overall.
Cole, do we have a wish list right now? Like, that you're thinking of, like, why do we go through all of this? Like, are there some items that we're already?
I think we've talked through some of it, but really the audit helps us figure out where our inefficiencies are. And so we don't understand all of, like, for instance, the solar on the senior center, we don't know if it works. And so they'll come in and they'll work with us to figure out, does it even work? And does it need some upgrades and stuff? So the audit will help us figure out where those inefficiencies are, so then we can come up with the game plan once we have the audit of what we want to do. And that's why there's always that risk that we might get the audit and be like, well, nothing really makes sense for us, so we're not going to do this, but we have to pay for the audit. But the hope is that you get the audit, you figure out what projects we want to do, and then we do the energy performance contract process. But we'll really know more once we have that audit done. But we know we have deficiencies in our HVAC systems.
I mean, we have aging buildings that I don't think we've had a deferred maintenance schedule in place on a lot of our buildings, do we?
Well, we have a facilities and grounds person, but
Right.
it's a lot of catch up.
Yeah. I mean, I think that alone,
And
just having
utilities
a
themselves
schedule
are.
and it being pointed out, and now we have a baseline to follow. I mean, like I said, I think it's a responsible thing to do. I think that we would find deficiencies. I would be on board to.
Well,
know
we
at
have a
least the
line item
HVAC.
now for maintenance of buildings that's going way up. So we must already have a list
Oh, yeah.
of some of our deficiencies. And I think we should start on that deficiencies now. I don't think that this is the time to put $20,000 into an audit and move into a new big project. We don't have money for what, we can get grants, we can get funding, but we have a lot of other things going on in the budget, and I don't know if it's really the time right now. to
Well,
do
I think
this.
that's the point of this, is maybe we have an idea that something is defective, and they could come in and say, no, you've got 10 more years on that. So, you need to be thinking
Well,
about this
don't we
and
have
this.
a basis for that?
I mean, that's what we're
From the
saying.
budget? I mean, when you write down $20,000 in maintenance for this building, you have an idea of what the priorities are already.
We kind of do.
So Yes, that's like.
We don't have an engineering idea, though. I think that's
Right.
the biggest thing, is staff's kind of looking, but we
Like,
don't
what year
have
did
the
this
experts.
get put in and what, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we don't
so
have the
I've stood out here with GARS for hours at the senior center and town hall before we had a facilities and grounds person. And a lot of times it's just way over my head. So I don't even know how to address what they're, now we have at least somebody's maintenance is, getting cotton out of the air coolers is a big deal. But there's a lot of other things that we're trying to repair, especially our utilities. There's a lot of electricity that they use. Is there another efficiency that we can use in our sewer and water utilities?
And the 20,000, we would only pay if we decide not to move forward with the energy performance. If we get the audit back and we say, okay, these are the things we want to do, that 20,000 rolls into what we would be paying through our savings. So you don't pay that 20,000
Right.
if we move forward with the program.
Right.
The question I had, Nicole, is you had said, so if our average expense is $10,000 a month, we save 2,000 goes back to the cost of those
About
improvements.
20,000.
So does this entity act as the bank? Because she was talking about other banks. I mean,
no.
it could be 500 years to pay back
They
a
help-
several
they
million-dollar
help
project.
us figure out how we want to finance, and that's what she was
Okay.
showing is, I don't know, Ashley, can you go back to that screen of finance options? We could do some of it through grants, we can do some of it through rebates, we can do some of it through a third-party finance, and it just depends on what it is. Like if it's an EV charging, there's a lot of grants for that, so maybe a lot of that we wouldn't even have to pay because we can find grants.
Same
But
with
until we
solar.
know what our menu of options are, we don't really know what the funding sources available for those
Okay,
will
that's
be.
where I was just kind of
So it could be a
confused.
mixture of
But it could end up
different
costing us more at the end anyway, though.
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, the cost of getting anything done nowadays have,
Yeah.
gotten ridiculous. It could cost us $10 million to do everything on our dream list and plan for the future, but if we can't afford it every month, even with grants, loans, and whatnot, that was just my
Yeah,
thought.
so we'll have to weigh all that. We might
Yeah.
not be able to do our whole wish.
Well, why not?
But the emergency things
Yeah,
and the.
just the way you said it, I thought it was,
Sense and that give us the best savings, you know, for instance,
Okay.
inflation might save us $50 a year. I mean, I'm just throwing numbers.
right, yeah,
Well, then that's probably not worth it for us.
Okay.
There might be something, at the water treatment plant that saves us 10,000 a year. And so those are what the audit will show us, and it'll help us determine what are gonna be the best things for our buck.
okay, that makes sense. It was just the part where if whatever our savings will pay it back was kind of where I was confused, so that makes sense. Thank you.
Does anybody else have an opinion or thoughts?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to proceed to the next step in this process.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second, so,
Again, just so we're clear, that next step in the process
Is
is
it
this
MOU?
MOU with Colorado Energy Office.
So we would bring a resolution on November 7th, so we can get a formal approval. And then the step right after that would be the MOU. So the resolution will kind of spell out what we're getting into.
So that will be the next step.
November.
Just so
resolution.
we're clear on what the motion is.
Yeah.
Okay, motion for next step resolution
Yes.
at the
And a
next meeting.
second.
We have a second. Any further discussion from the board? Roll call.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
No.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Nay.
And Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, thank you, Ashley, for being here, for the information.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right, moving on to our approval of minutes and department reports. Did everybody get a chance to look at the roster of attendance on the work session from October 3rd?
Yep.
If you believe that that is the correct roster, I would entertain a motion to approve the work session roster as provided.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 3rd work session roster as provided.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from October 3rd meeting?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 3rd regular meeting minutes presented by Town Clerk Dustin Hayden.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, moving on to our department reports, Public Works. Jeremy, do you have highlights for your report?
Madam Mayor, Trustees, I did put a report together for the month of September. We're still seeing a high volume of locates coming in. Most of these tickets are involved fiber optics installation. So most of that project, a lot of the large infrastructure is done. We're still seeing a lot of them come in for service drops. That's the actual connection from the infrastructure they've installed to the home. The CNL isn't up and running, so it'll be a little while before they actually get some customers online. We did have a water leak, County Road 526, Tone property. We got that repaired. The smaller service pump for the clear well is still a little all American technical. We're hoping to get that back installed in the next month. That'll show some energy cost savings. We did have 2 more sewer strikes in September on service lines from boring operations. So we've been doing that all summer. Moving forward, irrigation systems off. Public Works did work with SGM for the stormwater study out here. So we were doing a lot of pipe confirmations, survey guys, things like that. So that was a little bit time consuming. Mill Street striping's done. There was some confusion as far as to one of the parallel parking spaces we'll be correcting. We missed grade from Marshall Brewery's driveway. It's a parallel parking space, so we'll be correcting that. But other than that, everything else looks good. There's a little funky parking section on the end of Pearl there that we're working with SGM to make sure that's corrected. There's no parking spaces in the intersection at this time, and we're still seeing some people parking there like they were before, so we're working through a couple of those hiccups. We had a couple of our employees go to Southwest Water and Ice Snowplow Conference this year. Corey and Artie attended. That was pretty good. Thank you for allowing us to have a training budget and send some of our people to those. The CNL is done at Lakeside Drive. We're having power connected and equipment's being installed. We're still working through the final agreement for the lease to occupy that building. And that's about all I got for you. We did change last month a portion of the water flows and production data. We did a line graph and a bar graph, so if anybody has any comments on how you would like to see some of this presented, we're more than willing to take those suggestions.
I don't have any comments on how to present it, but I did notice that your historical influent sewer plant monthly flow is a really low October. What is that?
Yeah. So,
Why?
Well, because we're seeing, mostly it's in conjunction in the sewer plant with irrigation season. So
Is that
those are the
infiltration?
flows we're seeing.
Well, October isn't done yet.
Yeah.
Oh, is that part of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is only
So this is only half of it. But we're still low comparatively if you were to be halfway through the month, so.
Yeah, and if you see that spike when it comes up, it really correlates with irrigation season. So we do have a lot of I&I you're seeing is what's reflected in the sewer plant inflows. So you can see in May when it starts to spike up, it goes through July and it starts to taper off in September when they turn the ditches off. So that's what we're working with SGM next year to start doing some infiltration work and trying to cut some of those inflows down.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions for Jeremy? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have Dustin with the police department.
Hello. All right, so I have, I guess Chief Hogue provided a copy of his monthly summary that I believe everybody has. And just a few items of note on there. Did conduct a fire drill at Town Hall, which was passed, with some things that did come up to address that were, I believe, all addressed or being addressed. department heads from around the county, and also get more in the community, in the schools, and meet with a lot of the school staffing and help with some of the planning for the homecoming week and parade, which went really well, as well as Heritage Days parade. For our department staffing levels, we're still down 2 patrol officers. We do have 1 candidate in the background phase currently, and they passed initial interviews and they're moving forward in that. Some of the calls for service numbers, he did notate on here that the overall numbers are down from 2022 to 2023. Some of those are due to a change in practices with pawn slips and how those are handled or not inputted into our system, so we don't count those towards our calls for service anymore.
But you're still having to go and,
Yeah, I don't know the whole process right now. They're still collected, but we just have to enter them into our system because they get, there's a different way of handling them.
I was always kind of amazed how much time was spent at the pawn shop, to be honest.
There's a lot of pawn slips that have, yes.
Okay.
That have had to have been entered into the past, so this is definitely streamlining some of that process to save some time there. And Spillman is still in the works. So as of this, there was a hang up with IT. I actually just spoke with our IT today, and it sounds like that process has been actually moving forward, and we're progressing with Durango now with implementation. So they're actually working on testing tablets.
Right on.
That just started today. And we've been working on changing the marshals to police on the vehicles. Still working with the IGA for traffic enforcement to help provide just better coverage for the town actual roadways or adjacent roadways. That seemed like the most important stuff on this.
Do you happen to know when La Plata County is going to approve the IGA, the town board?
I do not.
Okay, just curious if they had it on their docket yet.
I'm not sure. I don't have any dates on that.
Okay, that's all right.
Sorry.
That's okay. You're filling it.
All right. I'm sure we'll have questions for you in a minute, but does anybody else have any questions or comments?
No?
Thank you. Oh, hold on. And then we have Nicole Killian, our Community Development Director report.
So a couple things I'll highlight. Our comp plan update is out for public review, so that's on the website. And we are accepting comments until October 31st. And the plan is to bring that to the Planning Commission on November 14th, and the Board of Trustees on November 21st for your consideration. And then we also have the Growing Water Smarts. We're trying to schedule our second meeting with them. We're hopefully, we'll get a lot more in-depth on process that we're gonna go through based on our kickoff meetings, responses that we had, with them. So we're excited for that process, starting. And then I just wanted to give you, since we are just finished the third quarter, just some building permit stats. So we received 67 building or utility permits so far since January 1. 14 of them were for new residential construction. And in comparison, we had, in all of 22, we had 66. So we're already ahead. We still have 1 quarter left for building permits. And 17 of those were for new construction. I don't know if we'll surpass that number this year, but I think next year with Mustang Crossing coming on board and probably kind of the Commons starting, we'll probably have quite a few more new residential permits for 2024. And then just some quick grant updates. Strong Communities, this is the grant that we applied for Cinnamon Heights, which we were told we cannot apply for because we purchased our property longer than what their end date is for that purchase. But Pine River Commons, we are allowed to apply for them, and so we have our pre-application meeting at the end of this month, and if all goes well, we will be invited to apply for Pine River Commons to get some infrastructure funding. And because the town would be the applicant, it has to go through a municipality or the county. So government do receive that funding for them. And again, this will help with their infrastructure so that they will de-restrict all of those units in perpetuity. We don't have a big update on the Highway 160 crossing right now. The Revitalizing Main Street grant, though, this is for the East Mill Street sidewalks. We are going to be kicking that project off this week. I believe tomorrow they are going to be able to start doing some work out there. We don't want to do a lot of work yet because of the
Frankenstein,
Yeah.
event that's happening this week, but starting next week, you'll start to see some demolition of existing sidewalks. We're starting on that south side of Mill Street, and it's from Church Street to the Buck Highway. And so, we're gonna be seeing some new sidewalks. The grant was supposed to be completed, or the project was supposed to be completed for the grant by the end of this year, but we did get an extension till June, just because we had some additional geotech work done in order to actually add the new sidewalk that doesn't exist right now on that south side of Mill Street between East and Buck Highway. Is it East?
Yeah, east.
And Buck Highway. And, so there's no sidewalk there now, and as part of that, because of the topography there, we need some geotech. We're gonna have to do some retaining walls and railings there, and so that took a little bit more time, and therefore, the state would give us an extension on that grant. So we're excited to start that project and get that end, of downtown sidewalks in. And then the Transformation Affordable Housing Grant, we just had, our finance, meeting on that, and they're still probably 4 to 6 months out before we get that notice to proceed. Division of
Wow.
Housing is slammed right now because a lot of Prop 123 is falling on them, and they're being required as part of the governor's executive order to revamp how they do things. And so everything's kind of pushed off, so we're about 4 to 6 months out on that. However, we did find out from them that, this is the first time I've experienced this with the grant, but we asked for 2.7 million, we received 2 million. So we have a gap of 700,000, and so we're trying to figure out how to fill that gap, and we were told that if we can't find that 700,000, we don't even get the 2 million. So they didn't give us the whole thing, and now they're telling us they won't give us any unless we figure out how to compensate for what we didn't get from them in our request. So we did reach out to the county, if you recall, at our meeting,
Yes.
we talked about ARPA funds, and I asked how to apply, and they said, consider you this applied. So I did reach out to Chuck Stevens, the county manager, and he believes that they still have some ARPA funds, possibly 700,000 for us. And so he said he'll get back to me on that, so if you talk to one of the county commissioners, maybe poke at them.
Weren't they giving us a hard time at that meeting that it was going to Ignacio?
Some, I mean,
Some of it.
some is going.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
He said they still have about 700,000, I said, well, that's perfect.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Perfect,
So,
okay.
hopefully, I believe that they are giving some funds to Ignacio, and they have helped Durango. So.
Our
I
turn.
said, well, I thought it's only fair to maybe help Bayfield as well. So hopefully, we will have that gap filled, before that 4 to 6 months of our notice to proceed, and we'll be prepared to proceed.
Well, because the county opted into Prop 123 as well, so they have to get their numbers up, so it would behoove them to, yes.
Yep.
Supporting our project as well as Charlie Albert's Pine Ridge Commons, we only need 14 units in
Right.
3 years. And
Okay.
that will give us 96 units between those 2 projects, so the county can take the credit for the rest.
There we go.
So, yeah, I think it'd be, and I did.
It's a win-win for them.
Chuck says when he's talking to them, I did put that out there, that we're gonna have units that you guys can count.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll use that. And then in terms of the congressionally directed spending, we're still waiting to hear back on that. They said closer to the end of the year, but there's a lot going on at the federal government level, so we'll see how this plays out, towards the end of the year. And, we'll be continuing to look at other options for that funding as well. And then I just wanted to give you one more update that's not on here, and that's East Oak Drive update. We went to the school board maybe a month and a half ago. Katie and I went and kind of refreshed them on what we're looking at for those 5 alternatives for East Oak Drive. We went to the planning commission, we came to the board of trustees, and we would like to have a joint meeting between the planning commission, the board of trustees, and the school board to talk about this alternative and try and at least
In a closed meeting.
There's no notices required for the public. And we kind of pushed back and said, no, we want this to be a public meeting. We'd like to have everybody involved. So then it kind of went to, well, some of our board members still have questions, and so we offered to go back to a meeting of theirs and try and answer questions. And if there were maybe two of our board members that would like to go, so, we don't have a quorum issue and we can talk with them. But ultimately, we'd like to have a full membership of our board and their board and the planning commission in these discussions moving forward. I do know that there's some concerns because they have, I believe, 3 positions up on the November ballot. And so it's like, who's making that decision? So I think Katie and I will continue to push to try and get a full board meeting, but we just wanted to give you a heads up and kind of get some direction. Does this board want to meet as a full board or do you want to subcommittee it? Because our preference is it's a public process, but we wanted to.
I mean, I was privy to that whole conversation, and I agree. I mean, I think there's enough change over here, and there's institutional knowledge already on this board that I said I want everybody in that meeting. I think we need as many minds as we can get, including planning commission, and and when does their elections on the 7th, but then when do they?
I want to say it's January, but I'm not 100%. Do you know when their changeover is?
I thought it was November 7th, but I haven't seen anything about it, so.
Because I thought he said in that memo that he would like to have a meeting before December.
December 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, he wanted to get it settled just before December 1st, and I'm like, I just think that this is going to affect the public, and the public needs to be there.
I agree.
Okay, so if that's still the direction from the board, we'll just make sure that they understand. We talked to our board and we would like to have everybody available, and we don't mind doing the notices. That doesn't bother us.
Yeah.
We do them all the time. So,
Right.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to our financial action agenda. Do we have any public input for 6A through E on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the employee health insurance.
Yeah, so you have 2 proposals. You have a draft that's dated October 3rd, 2023, and then one that's dated October 10th of 2023. The reason being is that our goal is to provide health insurance for families, and that includes kids, children. And so we could make one more step to reduce employee plus child or children, without actually giving money back to an employee because we're over charging or undercharging health insurance. So October 10th is the preferred draft. You would have to make a decision on this draft. Open enrollment starts October 30th. If you're not ready to make a decision, we'd probably have to have a special meeting to make a decision. So it's all equal. If you're an employee only, the town's paying the same amount for the HSA, which is a high deductible, or an open enroll OAP, which is open access plan.
I would hate to have to call everybody back for a special meeting. I do think that, we gave staff a opportunity at the breakfast to ask any more questions and clarify anything there. I mean, I did try to, insurance is it's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a tough one, so I don't think we're gonna please everybody all the time, but I think we do have decent benefits, and I would say that a majority, I think, of the staff is okay with it.
And by the way, we're still waiting for a contract for 13 months. The goal is to start December 1st and end December of next year. The reason being is that it really makes it tough when we're trying to make this decision before we've even got a budget adopted. It's a little easier if it matches our fiscal year as well.
What's the thoughts from the board?
Well, the draft 1010, doesn't that one save more money for the staff?
It saves more
For
money
some,
for
not all.
employee plus child. Everything
Yeah,
else is
for
the
some, but
same,
not all.
yeah.
What's the difference to what the town pays? Any?
It's $800 overall is what I figured.
But there's no change between the two
There
drafts?
is a change for the little bit, there's $800 more for the town on 1010. But, so it's not much.
A month or a year?
I'm sorry?
800 a month or
No, 800 total.
total? Okay, that's not.
And that's based on how many are using that, that family status.
Well,
Do we have a lot of people that are using that particular
No.
one? So we have hardly anybody using that one, but it costs us more.
It was just a way to encourage families. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, is encourage families with children and,
To come here and,
Yeah.
any questions, thoughts? If you're ready to move forward, I would.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 10th draft.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Parkington.
Yes, all right, moving on to our September 2023 financial statements. Kathy.
Yeah, thank you. So this financial statement represents the end of the third quarter of 2023. In the general fund, we've probably collected all of the property tax revenue that we're going to receive. We're still receiving like little bit stragglers here and there, but for the most part, we've received everything we're going to get. Cigarette tax is higher than we've seen it before, and it's higher than we had anticipated. I don't know what that means. Building permits are trending well compared to what was budgeted. Liquor license fees are trending higher than expected. Youth athletic programs, facility use rentals, and special events are all higher than what we had expected. We're still below budget in the capital improvement projects in the general fund, and that's, some of those projects are still in progress, and some of them are just projects that won't be completed this year. In the sewer fund, we added one plant investment fee for a new building permit. You'll see a deposit in the miscellaneous revenue account for, I believe that was $8,000, and that is for the sale of the 2000 Sterling jet rotor. And a small portion of that, like $60, was a refund from LPEA for some electricity for the Eight Corners PRV. And at this point, we're still below budget in the capital improvement projects in the sewer fund. In the capital improvement fund, you'll notice that there was a transfer of funds, I believe it was $28,000, from the in lieu of park fees to the park facility impact fees. That was a coding error. They got coded to the wrong line item, so they've been moved. We've also transferred the $287 to the $287,000 out of this fund to the general fund to cover the capital improvement projects that have been done thus far. In the water fund, the penalty line item continues to grow. So we're seeing a lot of charges for late payments. We've added one PIF for a new building permit, and the $800 that was deposited into the miscellaneous revenue account in that line item is for the transfer fees for the utility accounts. We charge a $100 fee when they transfer from one person to another, and that's what those fees are for.
or that's what those deposits are for. Interest earned this past month totaled $46,350. And all of the funds as a whole are trending as expected, and there's nothing out of the ordinary to report. Questions?
Any questions? I would entertain a motion to approve the September 2023 financials.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the September 2023 financials.
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. Sales tax report is in your packet. If you have any questions. If not, we'll move on to,
July numbers though, finally.
yeah, there's a little bump, huh?
A bit.
All right, we'll move on to the police department body cam system quotes. You have a supplemental package.
So you do have paper documents. I am not going to be an expert on the body cameras, but I can be an expert on looking for bids. So the board requested that Chief Hogue look for at least 3 bids for body cameras. So you have 3. There's Axon. Then I'm not going to get on the, let's see here.
Exxon, Motorola.
Motorola, and then a utility. So in that, in those packets, what we're looking at is that utility at one point was going to be a lease, and they were not going to ever own the cameras. So the utility has now changed that. We just need to make sure that there's some wording in there. You would purchase it all at once, $129,000, and you would own the cameras. The only downside is that when that 5 years is up, you may be buying cameras again, but then you would also be looking at a new lease purchase or lease as well, because they would look for you to renew. So in the 3 proposals that you got, I'll let Sergeant Stritzel talk about the quality and why there's a choice out of the 3 of them.
Basically why we're recommending the utility. So I'm not overly familiar with all of these quotes as far as the differences in each line item specifically. But we were, I know that we reached out to a few other agencies that are or were using Motorola, and we were recommended to find a different product. So a lot of what we did was comparing Axon and utility, and Axon's overall total actually came in higher than utility. Utility actually having more features, including some officer safety features that were that Axon just doesn't have, and they also some of the additional costs is just some of the features that we would have to purchase to even get somewhere near utility would bump Axon up above the cost of utility. And then I think with Motorola, that I think the 3E part is just the installation that Motorola doesn't cover, that I believe the other 2 do cover the installation costs. That's part of that original quote.
I think I remember Chief Hogue talking about some of that officer safety, just with, if it gets knocked off or something, it doesn't automatically shut off, or he was talking about some of the safety built in on that. I don't know.
So, Axon, they do have some holsters that are designed for like some of our MOLLE systems, so they're better than even like the Motorola products to stay in place. Utilities is actually implemented into your vest carriers and other things, so the camera cannot fall off. It doesn't mean it can't get damaged, but it won't fall off in a run,
Scuffle
a struggle, anything like that. So liability-wise, it's definitely a good product, because losing your camera in that type of situation usually is the situation you need your camera the most. Some of the other features that utility does have like an officer down feature, so if the camera actually goes horizontal for too long, like an officer's laying on the ground, it will automatically alert and call for help, which when we have single officers working at night or, backups a long ways away, whatever, you're not getting checked on all the time, you may not know, so that's something that the others don't offer. So that's a pretty big feature. And then they have like, if you run or you're in a struggle or things like that, utility will automatically activate your body camera. They do have, most of them have different sensors for holsters and things like that, so if a weapon is drawn or things like that, it will activate. But utility does have a few of the additional activations, or like if you can tap it, whereas if you're not trying to mess with buttons or whatever, so if you just hit your chest a couple times, it'll activate your camera. So it makes the overall usage safer for the officer, and the ability to monitor. I believe Axon does have too. Utility also has a feature where you can like live stream into it if there's an issue. Something dispatch can actually live stream in and see what the body camera is seeing.
Interesting.
To verify the safety of the officers. So yeah, I mean basically overall, utility just is a seemingly better product for, with at least compared to the Axon, cheaper.
And so currently, this is in the draft 2024 budget as well, so
How much was that for again?
it's $129,000, but it's a
129?
capital improvement versus a lease.
So, and we get 8 of everything, and how many officers do we have?
Yeah, so they did, I believe all of the quotes were for 8. We currently have, I think we would have 6 actively that would need to be outfitted, and then we have the 2 positions, so if we were to fill those positions, that would put us at 8. Every one of them has the ability to add for additional cost for if we, increase in size down the road. Those are just additional fees for them to install and add those into incorporated in.
Okay.
So since they're part of the vest, that means vests come with it?
So
You only get 5.
It's actually, the utility is like a cell phone device, that they put in a case inside your vest that you can remove that device in and out of, but utility does have a setup that they will reimburse for that process to basically break into
To
your vest.
retrofit your vest,
Yeah,
okay.
and so they do supply some of that as a reimbursement. I'm not sure exactly how that works, at what point that process happens, but they do pay for some of that fitting.
Which that could, because
Yeah. that
we
would-
replace those regularly anyways, right?
So that's
every few years,
that's a
so-
carrier, not the actual Kevlar vest.
Gotcha.
So it just goes into the carrier, which that gets more wear and tear than the vest, but they don't have a mandatory shelf life like the Kevlar does. So potentially that could last you longer than the Kevlar.
Yeah, it's included on this first page of it, 5 retrofits per camera purchased.
Okay. And I think the 5 might be with the current staffing.
No, it's 5 per purchased camera, so I think, looks like each camera can be put into 5 different vests. I mean, if you're buying vests every year, I guess that works. It's the way I'm reading it, I could be wrong.
No, I read it that way too.
Yeah, 5 retrofits of existing standard uniform garments to EOS ready status per EOS camera purchased. So that's included in the, I don't know if that's extra in that 129 or if that's included in it, so that's.
Okay, so I think they have a means to fit it into, like a normal uniform shirt. And then at the end of this, and it includes one existing vest carrier.
Okay.
So that's the difference of they'll where you can put it into an overshirt versus the vest carrier. So there's 2 different.
Okay,
people
got
that
it.
will Supply those.
Gotcha, okay.
All right. Any other questions?
This payment schedule, Katie, so it's no longer going to be amortized over 5
No.
years. It's
It'll be
100% upfront.
paid.
And then
Of
we
course, it's
own
not
it.
appropriated yet in the budget, so we would have to, I still want to make sure that Town Attorney Goldman takes a look at this contract, just to make sure there's nothing in here that I've missed. It would be, and there would be a purchase in 2024 at one shot.
And Katie, just so I remember, I know when we were looking at cutting things in the budget, if we did the lease agreement, that was gonna come out of the operations budget?
That's correct.
And so now, since that was the budget where we were kind of hurting, this is a method to put this purchase in the capital improvement where we're not hurting. And so overall, this will improve our 2024 budget.
Yeah, the vendor made the change. We requested it and it was kind of a last minute, we'll figure out a way to sell those cameras to you instead of lease them to you.
And then with Tabor stuff too, right? We couldn't do that.
Okay.
So does it still give the warranties like?
Yes, that's the one thing we've been
That was my
checking.
one. I want to make
Yeah.
sure that.
Yeah,
something
maintenance,
happens to it.
support, the whole thing. That's
Okay.
all has to be reviewed.
Biggest thing is what happens in 5 years. Are they gonna make us replace these all again and start over? Hopefully, they keep
Well, you
going.
could start out with a brand new lease too.
Yeah,
Yep.
or they could change the laws and
Yeah.
you'd have to get all new things anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Right?
we'll have all new cameras.
We'll
5
probably have way
years.
better technology too by then. Okay.
All right, then I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve utility as the police department body camera system and forward the contract to Town Attorney Goldman for review, and in addition, authorize Town Manager Sickles to execute the contract after legal review and comply with the appropriate dates of the 2024 budget.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, leak detection equipment purchase.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Board of Trustees. We're requesting purchase of leak detection equipment that will help us be more efficient in pinpointing water leaks. There's been a few times we've dug up the hole here and water leaks 20 feet down the road. Very beneficial because it'll also help us determine what's groundwater and what's not water leaking. Finding the village, that water's been surfacing over there is coming from the irrigation ditch.
But I was wondering about that.
How do you know what kind of water it is?
That's what this will help him with.
How? I just don't get it. How?
So what it does is if water's coming out of our water main,
Uh-huh.
you hook this equipment up to the valves and it sends like electronics sound wave to the pipe, and when the water's coming out, it'll pinpoint where it's the loudest coming out of the pipe. within a foot.
for water.
If it's groundwater, the machine won't pick anything up.
Ah.
So then they can know within a couple feet where to dig as opposed to punching holes all the way
Right.
up the line.
Water doesn't always surface water smoothly.
Clearly, yeah. Okay.
Corey, I was curious about, I mean, it's a $13 difference between the quote, and then when I was looking at the dates of the quotes, the one is from my birthday in 2022. So I wasn't quite sure what the, why there was $13,000, like, is the one that's above budget better, and we're just going with the lower one, or?
The one that's really above budget was about 40,000.
Mm-hmm.
And they only offered the one piece of equipment.
Okay.
The one that's a little higher
Mm-hmm.
than the budget,
Mm-hmm.
they have both pieces of equipment, but they're two separate units.
Okay.
The lower one, which I think is actually better,
Mm-hmm.
is incorporated into one unit.
Okay.
So it's less maintenance, really.
No, hey, if you're happy with that, when it was the $13,000 difference, I didn't understand. Like, I'd like to know why we're picking the cheapest one versus if the other one was just above budget.
One came out cheapest in general, the other one wouldn't.
Well then, all right,
Fair enough.
fair enough.
I'm sure this will save a lot of labor and wear and tear on equipment and all
Time.
kinds of good stuff.
Time.
Time. Well, it's getting there. All right.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of the leak detection form from Sarah for $20,244.
Second.
Actually pronounced Severin.
Severin?
Is it?
It's German.
German?
Oh.
Ja, ich spreche noch fast Deutsch.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to our action agenda items. Do we have any public input for 7A through E? Seeing none. Ordinance 496.
I may let Jeremy explain this one. And I have not sent this to Attorney Goldman either. It was one of these things where we were putting the resolution together for fees and some of the snow route. And he said, well, I don't want that bond in there. I was like, well, it was adopted in there.
Basically, for the right-of-way permits, what we're really issuing, the majority of them, is for homeowners and private residents, for say maybe a culvert repair or some type of operation that they're gonna do that's within town right-of-way. Maybe it's a driveway upgrade, maybe something like that. Well, you have a bond requirement that's actually really low. And so what the permit's trying to do is require us, for somebody to replace a $1,500 culvert, is make them carry a surety bond for that $1,500 work that they're gonna be doing in their driveway. I think that's overly cumbersome to ask any private resident or any resident just doing basic maintenance to actually go out, achieve a bond, supply it to the town, hold it for 30 days, and then actually warranty their work. So in essence, I would like to remove that portion, but it is codified in ordinance, which Katie pointed out, so I'm not exactly sure with the resolution trying to omit that portion or put it within the discretion of Public Works for a dollar amount.
So, yeah, this is an ordinance that basically takes all the bonding section out and is just one, a couple sentences that's at the discretion of the Public Works Director. And there may be those times. And if they appeal it, they don't want to do it, they can make a decision to come to the town manager or to the Board of Trustees. If I'm guessing that the discretion of the Public Works Director would be it's required. But that argument could take place either at the board or the town manager's office. So.
Well, in a lot of the larger projects, like the water line replacement project we did, all of that was right-of-way work, but we do require those larger projects through the formal bid process to be bonded. And so, I mean, in that application of the permit, I think that's appropriate. I just don't necessarily think it's appropriate to impose that on our private residents.
A homeowner.
You know, smaller jobs.
But does this ordinance still give you the option that you could require it if you needed to? So if it's like a really expensive project,
That's what they're saying. It would be at his
okay,
discretion
then
to.
you could require that bond if necessary?
Yeah.
Okay.
How often have people been getting these bonds if this was already in the ordinance?
Oh,
Like,
2 months?
Never.
Okay, yeah, I'm just like, was this happening?
They weren't doing it.
We haven't been enforcing that.
Okay.
You know, with those right-of-way permits. You
Just
know,
Bayfield.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, I'm not gonna tell a resident on Los Pinos that they need to pull a surety bond and give me estimates of the cost of replacing.
Especially when their driveway's in better shape than the road.
Right, exactly.
Especially if they maintain with these culverts. So,
Exactly.
I'm gonna work on your road, Tom.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, so we really haven't been imposing that.
Okay.
On smaller projects.
So
So
it just
what-
goes along with what you're doing.
Well, I'm just trying to understand, so if something goes wrong, that's what the bond is for?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
It's a lot easier than a letter of credit.
Yeah, way.
So I will say that if the board, the trustees decide to remove that bond requirement, giving the authority to the utilities director, when the utilities director does decide to pull a trigger and say, this type of project requires a bond, it better have a good rational basis for a bond to be applied that particular situation where other people aren't required to bond.
So when I replace
does.
mine and Jeremy's just pissed at me and says, yeah, I gotta have the bond, then that's not,
Not gonna
It does
fly.
place the utility director in a bind, and so, you know, okay, it's an interesting, request, I would say, by the utilities director.
Maybe we need more information on what that specific criteria could be, maybe have some parameters. I mean, I trust your judgment 100%, but I don't want anybody getting in trouble.
I think
I
that's
don't
a
know.
great idea.
I think a lot,
It could be a dollar amount, it could be project size, it could be, you know, right-of-way disturbance. Is there
Yeah.
an area that you wanna look at that triggers that?
Could it,
So right now, what's triggered is $2,000, and I don't think that that's an appropriate use of requiring somebody to pull a bond if they wanna do $2,000 worth of work. I mean, in my opinion, but that's where this conversation came from.
Yeah, I think if it's gonna have like some severe negative impact, like cost the town a ton of money to fix, and figure that number, what, 10,000, 20, which could go up every year. How long the project could be impacting, I mean, I think to come up with some parameters and we can look at it.
could it be outside of residential?
No, I think.
Single-family residential projects?
No, some single-family residential can get up there,
Seven Heights,
yeah,
that's all single-family residential.
yeah.
The project's gonna be large. So in those instances, when you get into a larger project such as that, typically goes through the formal bid process with project management and is bonded. So maybe that's a dollar amount that we bring back that maybe you might think is appropriate. I just don't think $2,000 is. And it hasn't been enforced.
Ever.
That's just honest.
And I get in the sense that you're feeling a little crunch because of weather. Is that what?
So currently, right now, the ordinance that you adopted at your last meeting was published. It would have been published the Friday after the 3rd, so the 6th, I want to say. And so it'll be in effect November 5th, November 5th.
Okay.
So, you know, if you decide to adopt emergency ordinance, it's still not even in effect, but the old one still requires that same bond anyway. It was just language that I pulled over from the old code. And I guess it just was missed, so.
And this all came up when we were talking about fees for the right-of-way permits and then the snow ordinance and stuff.
So if you decide to table this, we can come up with some parameters. Like I said, I have not had a chance to send this to Attorney Goldman, so we can come up with some parameters and maybe have that review. And it could come back to the board on the 7th of November.
Yeah.
yeah, I would prefer that.
I think I would
But you
too.
don't want that onus on you either, because
Yeah.
a big project and you didn't say yes, or you said no, or,
We're watching out for you.
So I would entertain a motion to table ordinance 496 upon further review and setting parameters.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table ordinance 496 so that we can come up with some parameters and, what was the other one?
Yeah, just
Just
further,
parameters.
more
For further,
information.
for review.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. Resolution 587.
So Resolution 587 is still applicable, even with the change, because there were some fees that we took out of the ordinance and decided to adopt those by resolution, so it's easier to make those changes when you need to make those changes. So there's a policy or kind of a table on the second page of that resolution that outlines those fees.
I think they're all reasonable.
Are there any questions concerning Resolution 587?
I just know that there was some members of the public in past meetings that talked about the sidewalk and snow, so failure to move it from pedestrian areas and or pushing it onto the streets. They were making statements, not publicly, but you could hear them saying that they were concerned, where are they
Like,
gonna
where do
take
they
the
put
snow
it?
to? And I get it, but, you know, I mean, we start slapping fines without a means of saying, hey, you should do this, X, Y, and Z. It's, I don't know, I just see it being a potential problematic.
Put it in your yard like I do. It's great for spring.
You're just talking about the
We're
Main
not
Street.
enforcing-
where
Oh,
it's
the
Main
yeah.
Street? Okay.
There's like just sidewalks and
Ah.
where do they put it if they don't put it in the street, because there's no yard
Yep.
for them to put it in
The other
there.
thing,
Town, okay.
too, is that for tenants down
however-
there that don't own the buildings, like those building owners are required to move that snow, they put it back on the tenants every time. So if you have certain operations that show up at 9 o'clock in the morning, you know, are the tenants going to get slapped, or is it going to be the building owners that are not? Yeah, so I heard members of the public saying it, I just wanted to bring it again.
Well, we're not enforcing anything right now, right? We don't have an enforcement officer and we're not enforcing anything, so is it? I know,
Yeah.
I think it's more of a conversation that we have.
Thing is, it is a conversation. I mean, I'm very aware of people that have plenty of room to put their snow that are still pushing it out into the street. So, and then they come plow it, and then I see them shovel it back out into the street. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's going to be just like we do with the watering schedules. You know, it may be a ride around town from time to time. I think if anything else, a code enforcement officer is going to, or our staff is going to at least warn them first, and let them know.
Maybe in the next newsletter that goes out?
I do have that. I have some of these
Queued up?
items in the agenda for the newsletter.
Perfect.
So.
And we usually do put a snow best practice in the newsletter as well.
Yeah.
Every year.
Okay.
What happens when the town plows the snow onto your sidewalk, though?
you have to
Move it.
move it. Yeah.
Oh, then you have to just shovel extra snow?
Your sidewalk or the town sidewalk?
Yeah.
It's our sidewalk.
It depends. It could be either.
You guys could have it. Mine needs to get repaired. No, they plow on our driveways. Okay, I think, where are we at?
Yep, if there's no further comments or questions, I would,
I think everything looks, yeah.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 587.
A second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes,
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, Resolution 588, our snow route map.
When I get to the right
There it is.
page.
There you go.
There's a lot of pages in there. Okay, so Resolution 588 was a snow route map. This was also going to go out in the newsletter as well, explaining that people shouldn't be parked on these specific snow routes from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., and that includes eastbound Mill Street, not westbound, just eastbound. So we're definitely going to do a lot of education on that side of the street to let people know. Some of the other Bayfield Parkway, I don't notice a whole lot of parking, but we do need to identify where these number one priority streets are.
Any questions on that?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 588.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes,
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to Republic Services garbage pickup rates.
So there is a letter from J.C. Velasquez regarding the change in fees that they will charge the town, and then the town charges just a little bit more to cover our costs in garbage removal. They gave us a rate change for 2022, which I told them I was not going to accept but I would take it for 2023 because it was not within the 90 days, but they never raised it. So their current fee is exactly what our contract was for 4 years ago. So I, at this point, don't have any issue with at least doing the CPI increase of 4% for what we pay now for public services. So,
And is that increase is again locked into because isn't that complete contract up for renewal?
it is up for renewal next year.
Okay.
So we're on year 5 will be 2024.
Okay.
Who else would we consider besides, I mean, is there another option?
Reliable was constantly contacting me about doing trash pickup in Bayfield. And I told him, I said, we have a 5-year contract, and that was in 2020. Waste management, there's also a vendor here for waste management. That could be another vendor as well. But as I remember from the other trustees that just said that waste management was pretty high. Reliable never had a chance to bid, from my understanding.
I think Phoenix might be expanding out to Bayfield about that time too.
So if we say no to it and we're in a contract, can they do anything? And that's one question. And the 4%, is that gonna help with better service? More reliable, consistent?
It has been a ride all along with the 3 companies. So I can't tell you
if anything will change.
I don't know. I do know that we're getting better about contacting them. Glenn and Kristen are reaching out to them when we have issues. And at least they're addressing them a little bit faster, but there still are, it is a garbage pickup, so.
Which isn't the increase, the 4% in the contract?
4% is in the contract. They had to give it to you 90 days before the end of the year. They were 88 days. I kind of I was going to reject it, and I thought, well, they actually had the request in 2022 that I rejected. So, and you think about they actually had the same request in 2022. It got rejected. I thought they applied it in 2023. They never did. So in some ways, we just move ahead.
With that, yeah.
And we
we've done
expected
well,
this.
yeah.
I mean, the price of gas has gone up. Everything's gone up, and
I don't have a problem with the 4%. It's in the contract.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the 90-day thing, but 2 days, come on.
I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Republic Services letter dated October 5th, 2023, regarding a CPI increase of 4%.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Zazzaro?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Wolf?
Yes.
Trustee Ah?
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, resolution 589.
So Resolution 589 is the 2024 utility rates. I've been kind of saying this all along. I think we're charging too much for sewer and not enough for water. But we are going to have a rate study for water, wastewater, or sewer, and then we'll get a recommendation from the engineer regarding fees for stormwater. Probably mid-year. So this will all be probably mid-year with no really significant changes until maybe the 2025 year or somewhere maybe a couple months before the end of 2024. So I've made a couple changes. The percentage is off to the right of the change, and the actual dollar amount is kind of the next column, second from the right side. So. But we will probably see some In a rate study, they're gonna look at their capital improvements, they're gonna look at, planned expansion, they're gonna look at, what we charge for PIFs, they're gonna look at, what type of water usage we have, and we now will have 2 years of real water usage and not the ERTs that we had in one of the previous utility structures, so.
So didn't we have a rate study that was done,
It was done on ERTs.
just ERTs?
And it was, when I realized it, they didn't get good data. And so there was bad data in and bad data out.
Right, so I would just want to make sure we don't use the same.
I would
people doing
probably
the
send
study.
it out an RFP,
Yeah.
and that would be your choice on who you select.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I don't think I have any issue with who did the rate study. I would say it was the way that the town was managing their utility structure was more the issue. And I'm not blaming anybody, I'm just saying it
No,
was just
yeah.
a.
That was done in 2018.
Yeah.
So in this resolution, all rates are going up, except we're going to not have sewer go up as much as the
That's
water
correct.
based on.
And garbage isn't gonna go up at all.
Which is the way it should.
And then the PIFs did go up 5% because we don't want to get behind in PIFs.
We were expecting that.
Okay.
Yeah.
From what my understanding, the tribe charges $30,000 for a water and a sewer tap. This would be $15,000. So
We're still low.
we're still low. They hadn't been raised for 20 years or 10 years for a while, so
Yeah.
we're just taking steps at that.
But our water and our sewer fund are in good shape, right? We're just trying to get ahead.
They're in good shape for capital, so keep in mind that you need to make sure that your rates are covering the operations, the planned capital, so there's a lot of capital improvement projects that are on the capital improvement plan for water and sewer.
My fear is with us having it November 7th coming up, anybody who might be watching this or reads this might freak out about this 3%, but I mean, it's nothing, it's a buck,
Yeah.
so that was my only thoughts. Cool.
Any questions on that?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 589.
We have a second.
A second, sorry.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. We have the town hall lease by clerk and recorder.
So there was made some changes. They used to have their elections here. They will not have their election here. They'll have it at the library. They'll still have the box out here, and they have a kiosk out here that you approved a couple months ago. So this is basically just a renewal. We're doing 2-year renewals. It's just a little easier to do it every 2 years versus every year. Because they're not using all the rooms, even though the cost of, custodial and electricity and everything is going up, I felt that keeping the same rate for the next 2 years was fair.
Okay.
I actually kind of like having our boardroom back for election day, so we were always shoved up in the upstairs.
Yeah,
room.
that's true.
And I didn't put a motion there. I forgot that on that.
Okay.
But it's up to you to, how you'd like to.
To either approve it.
word that.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Nope.
I would entertain a motion to approve the lease agreement. for the
Madam
clerk
Mayor,
and-
I'd like to make a motion to approve the town hall lease as presented by the clerk and recorder.
For the clerk and
For
recorder.
the clerk and recorder.
Second.
We have a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, you all see your upcoming dates of interest.
And you do have a copy of the budget and the draft comp plan in all that stuff that I gave you today or yesterday or
In your
whatever.
pile. At this time, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session. Lori, why don't you do that one? So good at it.
Unless you want to hand me the document.
I move to go into executive session regarding CRS 24-6-402, parentheses, 4, parentheses F, parentheses I, personnel matters, except if the employee who is the subject of the session has requested an open meeting, or if the personnel matter involves more than one employee. All of the employees have requested an open meeting. With respect to hearings held pursuant to the Teacher Employment Compensation and Dismissal Act of 1990, Article 63 of Title 22 CRS, the provisions of Section 22-63-302, parentheses 7, parentheses A, CRS shall govern in lieu of the provisions of this subsection, parentheses 4. Regarding Town Manager Katie Sickles' annual performance evaluation pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses F, parentheses I.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, we will keep Attorney Goldman, Katie, and the board in the room.
You're trying to leave?
Yeah. I actually do need a break. Can we take 5 minutes?
Yeah, go. Okay.
I'll let you know what time they adjourn. Yes, no, you get to go.
We have a
You get to go.
request for a bathroom break.
Oh, yes, please.
Not after
Thank
that
you.
last one.
We need one right here.
Yeah.
Part of that energy thing.
Holy cow. These meetings.
You got lunch down there?
Sure do. Brown bagging it.